When I started playing guitar and improvising, I made a lot of mistakes. So I thought, can I maybe record just a lesson that addresses all these common pitfalls? Here are 5 super common beginner mistakes that I don't want you to have to be stuck with. So already in this opening performance, I was not doing any of the 5 things that I want to go over with you today. So I suggest you grab some pen and paper, take some notes if you can. So then later, when you have your next practice session, you can take this backing track and implement these 5 things that I'm going to tell you. So who exactly was I thinking of when I recorded this lesson? I was thinking of guitarists that keep mindlessly noodling over backing tracks, playing the same licks over and over again, feeling frustrated and feeling insecure about their playing. I was also thinking about people that have been playing for a long time and they had a desire a long time ago to be on stage and express themselves freely, or even if it's not on stage, just express yourself freely, and somehow they got stuck on this plateau level and just seem to keep repeating themselves. It doesn't have to be that way, and I can promise you that after you pay attention to these 5 things, you're gonna sound a whole lot better than before. So let's get started. Number 1, scales don't matter. I know this seems counterintuitive, but let's just forget about scales for a second. Let's think about mood and melody instead. If we listen to this backing track here, then we have the D major chord moving to the G chord here. Yeah? So the first thing that we can do is just think about our chord tones, think about our thirds in particular. Let's start with the thirds. I'm just going to play third on the D chord, and then a third on the G chord. You see how melodic that already sounds? Really don't need to think about scales. Now let's connect these 2 notes with some notes in between. Try to just play what you're hearing instead, yeah? So this is wonderful, yeah? If you can do this, then you're already at a very good spot. You just let all the scales confuse you. There's no need for you to say like, okay, this is in D major. And you just start improvising with that material, playing all the notes. It's good to know scale patterns, don't get me wrong, but this can actually deter you from making progress and start to play real music if you're not focusing on the actual intervals that count on those chords, or whatever musical environment you're in when you improvise. You need to start pay attention to that, and so forget about the scales for a second. Number 2, solo around the music and don't play over the music. Let me explain what I mean. Too many guitarists just take a backing track and just play over the track, not really listening to the instruments. It's just like, okay, here's the drum beat, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the bass. Let's go. What's the chord progression? I'll just play over this. Yeah? This is not a good practice. The better practice is to really listen to what the instruments are doing and try to complement what's already happening. Just like you would with a real band. You don't want to just lay yourself over everything, but you want to pay attention to the arrangement. You want to hear what's going on here. Where's the acoustic guitar coming in? Where's the heavy guitars coming in? So for example, one common pitfall is that people will just start too low with their melody and it just would not sound good. Yeah? It would just not cut through the track. So as a general advice, it's always good to kind of start in the middle when you start your solo. But even more so, start listening to the backing track and start playing around the track. That also means don't land on the one so much where all the instruments like bass, drum, bass, all the chord instruments, they're all gonna accent the one usually. Huh? So don't put your solo note there. I'll show you the difference right away, how you can create more excitement. Check this out. Starting on the one. I'll start on the one first, yeah? Here we go. Now, not starting on the one. Check it out. Can you hear the difference? Can you hear how much more sophistication comes in when I rhythmically place my melody notes around the arrangement and the riffs and kind of fill the empty spaces? And I also don't want to do that too much. Yeah? I want to leave enough space, let the other instruments breathe as well, and just play around them, especially if you have a vocalist. Number 3, soloing doesn't equal single note soloing. Now that took me a long time to figure out, because somehow in my mind it was clear, like you play rhythm guitar, you play chords, you play solo, you play only one note at a time. You do some bends, you get intense, you play like a saxophone basically, and you just play one note at a time. Then I realized by listening to other guitarists that there are many more ways than that to play a solo. You can use chords in your solos, you can use double stops, you can use intervals like octaves, like thirds, sixths, so many things you can do that is beyond just single note soloing. And today, looking back, I have to say that single note soloing by itself is just a bit boring as a guitar texture. So let me show you some approaches that we can apply here to this backing track where we can immediately add more interest. So I hope you can already see the power of what I call the Hendrix chordal approach. It's actually a technique that was first started in the 50s, 60s by soul and R&B guitarists, and then later guys like Steve Cropper or Curtis Mayfield took this technique and used it for pop music or pop singles. And then Jimi Hendrix came along really and took this technique and used it in rock music pretty much as the first guy. He also used overdrive and distortion with this technique, and it turned out it works pretty well even with distortion. So this is why this, you know, works so well. So even if you can just learn how to play over one major chord, so powerful, yeah? And this brings me to the sponsor of today's video. It's my melodic chordal soloing course. I've put together a compact course where I will teach you my melodic chordal soloing approach in just 7 days. You learn all the basic techniques, including hammer-on, pull-offs, triad positions, how it fits in with the caged system, how you can blanket with the chordal style over a chord progression, how you can connect all the positions, and then also how you can play changes in a very musical way that is more rock pop rather than jazz. This comes with videos, tab, diagrams, and play-alongs, and you will get very specific task assignments that you should complete before moving on to the next level. And if you get the course via the link in the description, there's a discount code that will give you 50% discount, because I want you to get this under your fingers. All right, let's move on. Number 4, slow is still too fast. I've heard early on that if you really want to nail something, you need to slow things down in your practice. And you should not always start at the beginning of the song, but you should actually start where you make the mistake. But even though I had the best intentions, now I know that I was still going way too fast and I made way too many mistakes, even in the fast tempo. So here's the thing. If you don't fully understand what you're playing, you need to give your fingers and your mind the time that they need to really have it ingrained into your muscle memory. You should go super, super slow. So next time you're learning a tune and you're having a problem with a particular section, just reduce the tempo to another 30% less than what you would usually play it. So, you know, if you want to play something at tempo 100 and you have a problem, you would usually slow it down to tempo 70, then just go all the way down to tempo 50, for example. Yeah. If you have problems figuring out some coordination thing, then I would even advise just drop the metronome entirely and just do it in free time and really figure out the coordination. I'll give you one example. Yeah, I had one student, he was trying to learn the intro of Hey Joe. You know? And even this intro section here, he was having troubles. Yeah? His version sounds like this. So it always took him too long on that first part. Yeah? So I just told him, like, okay, you know, we need to make all these notes in the beginning the same length. So it gotta be down, 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 go down, 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 go down. We need to get that rhythm, no matter at which speed. You need to figure out this. Just that part by itself. Well, it turns out that we actually had a right-hand problem. Yeah? So I taught him how to hybrid pick this section, where you use your middle finger for this outer note. Had nothing to do with the rhythm, really, yeah? But suddenly he had a much easier time doing that than the picking. And then that was also much easier. Yeah? So suddenly we figured out this mechanical movement, and then the rest was piece of cake. Once he figured out his mechanics, he could really play it at any tempo. Does that make sense? Yes. And last but not least, number 5, limitations are a good thing. What am I talking about? For the longest time, I would just practice all over the fretboard. I knew I want to master the fretboard, so of course you want to just play through all the positions all the time, and you want to alternate pick everything, because that's good practice. So I would just do everything all the time. But then I learned from some very smart teachers that one of the best practices to really get better at one particular thing is to set certain conditions and limitations to your practice. Let me make an example. We could make the limitation that you're only allowed to play on one string. What do you think what that is going to do for your fretboard orientation if suddenly you cannot play across the strings, but you have to stick to one string with your melody? Fantastic practice. Let's go and try it. Yeah, so I took a little advantage of that, but point is, I did things here now that I would have never done if I wasn't limited to that one string only. Other examples is that you focus just on your rhythm. You maybe just limit yourself to 3 notes only. Or you can say like, okay, I'm only allowed to play 8th notes. I'm only allowed to play 8th note triplets. I'm only limited to these 3 notes, or whatever it is. If you truly want to get out of that noodling phase, then you need to come up with some practice routines that limit you in certain areas where you need to focus on certain areas in your playing because of those limitations. That's just the most powerful practice method that I know. It could be even as simple as you're learning a tune and you constantly have troubles. So you limit yourself on just one bar. Can you really start at this particular bar and just play this one bar and loop it? That's what I'm talking about here. I hope you enjoyed this lesson and you got a lot of value out of it. If you're not subscribed to this channel already, then go and check the subscribe button. Make sure you subscribe. 77% of people watching this channel are still not subscribed. I want to make sure that I can keep providing the best content to you, and it really helps our channel if you subscribe and we grow our subscriber count so we get more traffic on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, and if you want to keep watching, here is another video about the Hendrix chordal style that you can get via the link in the description.